Hello, I'm your host, Paul Young, and with me today is parent education expert, Stephanie Risley. Welcome to another segment of Surviving the Teen Years.
Thanks, Paul. The early teenage years are often stressful for both adolescents and their parents. Teens may be confused about the physical and emotional changes they experience, while at the same time, parents might be facing their own midlife crisis, or sometimes parents worry about getting older when they compare their energy or lack of it to their child's youth and vitality.
And parents often worry that their kids will experience violence and negative peer pressure, become addicted to drugs, drop out of school, develop eating disorders, and even become suicidal in response to the many pressures and stresses they may face.
You're right, parents do worry, but most young people function well through their teenage years and go on to become contributing members of society. In this series of 10 videos, we will examine teenage behavior and help parents identify the issues that require serious intervention. We will look for ways parents can help their children grow into healthy adults.
Thank you, Stephanie. The topic of today's program is communication. Let's watch a scene between a mother and her daughter. Think about what you would do in this situation.
Come in here and help me with dinner. And you didn't clean the living room before you left this morning. When are you gonna learn to be responsible?
And that move was so hard, I almost fell.
Get off of the phone right this minute and get your behind in the kitchen.
She's at it again. I am so sick of this. I'll call you back.
You're not half as sick as I am, you disrespectful brat. After all we do for you.
You don't do anything special for me except always fuss, fuss, fuss. The boys can get away with anything because they're boys. I know you and Dad wish I was a boy. Well, I'm not. I'm tired of being picked on. I be glad I'm old enough to move out of here.
You and me too. You caused more trouble in this house than your two brothers put together. When I was your age, I wouldn't dare speak to my mother the way you do.
Angela and Tiffany have agreed to join us today to discuss what happened and to work with our expert to find different ways of dealing with the situation you just witnessed. Please welcome Angela and Tiffany to our program. Thanks for joining us today. Angela was making dinner. Tiffany came back from drill team practice and went straight to her room to make a phone call. This bothered Angela, and soon a fight erupted. What did Angela or Tiffany do to discourage positive communication?
Well, it's obvious. Tiffany came home from school and went right to her room. She didn't even say hi.
It did seem that way. Tiffany, did you see that?
Yes, but wait a second. Why am I the one being criticized? She complains and screams all the time. That's why I just go straight to my room.
Tiffany has the right to be upset. She's just a kid. I don't think I could take Angela yelling at me like that either. I would go to my room too.
Is screaming a good way to communicate?
Well, maybe Angela shouldn't have yelled at her the way she did. But wouldn't you be upset too if your own daughter came home and didn't say hi after not having seen you all day?
It's so upsetting to me. My daughter has become a complete stranger.
You started it.
I don't think so.
If anything is clear, it's the fact that you two are not getting along. Stephanie, what's going on here?
Well, it looks as if Angela and Tiffany are having difficulty even hearing each other, and that makes it very hard to communicate.
How can we communicate when all she does is scream at me?
Well, you each think the other person is wrong, and you've shut off the key to successful communication, which is, does anybody know?
Listening?
That's right. Good listening requires undivided attention. Responding to your child by paying attention is a great way to encourage communication.
Yeah, why should I even bother to tell her about my day if she doesn't even listen or care?
I care, but you just get so angry when I make a comment about anything.
Maybe it's because you call her name. Didn't you call her a disrespectful brat? And that's not very constructive.
Right. Another thing that turns off listening is to be labeled or to name call. Using unkind words feels like an attack, and that prevents meaningful communication.
So how do we get this across to teenagers when we feel they've done something inappropriate and are not doing their chores?
Well, I think you've just answered your own question. State how you feel about what they've done or haven't done, and be specific. It's more effective than attacking the child's character, which, besides being ineffective, can create a desire for revenge. Tiffany, could you tell your mom how you feel when you try to tell her something?
I feel you don't listen to me. You don't care about what I say.
But every time I say anything, you just get so upset.
Angela, you're not communicating, you're being defensive.
How so?
Well, instead of blaming her, why don't you just tell her how you feel? Go ahead.
Why do you feel that I don't care?
Because you're just concerned with your own problems. I want to tell you how hard that new step we're learning is, and all you can worry about is dinner.
I see. I'm sorry. I should take a moment to listen to you.
Good, exactly. Sometimes it does mean just stopping what we're doing and paying attention and listening.
But what if you're in a hurry? Like if I'm late to school, or in this case, she has to finish dinner.
You know, we can't put a hold on our lives just because our kids want to teach us a new dance step.
Well, I agree we all have busy schedules. However, the bonds we develop with our teens as they grow older will influence how they relate to us when they're adults. I mean, after all, what could be more important than our relationship with our own children?
I think we're being a bit harsh on Angela. I mean, I understand that she needs to listen, but what about the fact that Tiffany walked straight past her and didn't even say hi?
What about that?
At our house, we always say hello when anyone enters.
That's a good idea.
I have a question. I agree. Teens need to help around the house and do their chores. But teens have their own needs also. They need their own space. They need time to chill out. Isn't Angela expecting too much from Tiffany to come in and help with dinner as soon as she gets home?
Yes, what about that?
Yes, I noticed that there are two boys who aren't doing anything.
That's an important point. I mean, children learn to be resentful when they have to do work while their siblings are not required to assume responsibilities. I mean, the boys need to help out as much as the girls. But regarding our previous issue, I agree that teenagers need their free time even though they are expected to help around the house. I mean, that's why it's a good idea to teach them how to manage their own time.
What do you mean?
Well, instead of telling your teens what needs to be done, ask them what they can do to get their chores done. In other words, help them to solve the problems themselves. I mean, they can think of solutions to how to get their work done and have enough time to play and do the things they really want to do.
Can you give us an example?
Well, Tiffany, you know your mom needs your help in making dinner. And you're supposed to straighten up, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, but you also want to be on the phone, make calls. So how can you accomplish all of these things?
Well, I guess I could stay on the phone a little less longer, and
yeah.
I could ask my brothers to help me. I help them all the times.
That's a good idea. By the way, problem solving with your teen is also a great way to resolve issues which may be sources of conflict between the teen and the parent.
I noticed that Angela kept comparing Tiffany to her brothers.
She always does that.
It develops a sense of competition. I think that'll be good in the future.
That's crazy. That will make them feel inadequate and cause self-esteem problems.
I absolutely agree.
Well, a competitive spirit is good, and there are many ways to achieve that, like playing games and doing sports, but comparing your children is really not helpful. Remember that children are individuals in their own right with their own strengths and weaknesses. Comparing them makes them resentful.
I agree. Two ingredients that will definitely spoil good communication.
Mm-hmm.
In our house, we have a cooperative spirit. Instead of competing with each other all the time, we also help each other.
That's good. The key to good communication is building trust, not anger. Parents who take the time to talk and listen to their children create an atmosphere of love, trust, and acceptance in which a quality of communication can take place.
Now let's summarize some of the key ideas from this section.
Number one, when listening to your children, stop what you're doing. Your full attention is crucial in establishing a trusting rapport. Number two, encourage children to think through solutions. Giving your child some control in problem solving will show the child that you respect and care for him or her. Number three, avoid blaming, comparing, or putting negative labels on your child. Attacking a child does not show respect or caring and might create anger and a desire for revenge.
Angela, Tiffany, would you like to go back and try this scene again?
Yes.
Yes. Honey, are you forgetting something?
I'm sorry, Mom. How was your day?
Great. Pretty good, baby. How was your rehearsal?
Oh, great. We're finally getting that new step together. I think we'll be ready for the parade on Sunday.
Oh, good. Listen, baby, I know you want to cool out for a few minutes, but I really need your help with dinner. I had to work late today, and I want to have dinner ready so we can eat as soon as Daddy gets home.
Okay, Mom, but can I call Karen first? I promised I'd call her as soon as I got home.
Okay, but can you hang up in 10 minutes? I really need your help.
Okay, Mom, and I know the living room is still a little messy. I stayed in the shower too long this morning.
What can you do to make sure that your work is done in the morning?
I can take shorter showers.
Good idea. What else?
I can ask Don and Charles to help me. I help them when they need it all the time.
Good idea. And your brothers can definitely help you.
I think I'll go ask them now. They owe me one.
Angela, how do you feel?
Much better, thank you.
Tiffany?
I felt I could talk to my mom and she was actually listening. Mm-hmm. And we were respectful to each other.
That's what good communication requires. Talking and listening. Let's give Angela and Tiffany a big hand.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Now, let's look at a couple with a slightly different problem.
Look at this mess. That
girl sits around here all day doing nothing. The least she can do is keep this place cleaned up and take care of her baby.
She's only 15. She's just a child. Don't be so hard on her.
If she's old enough to have a baby, then she's old enough to take care of it. I'm not going to keep on doing all the work. And listen to her disrespectful mouth on top of it. You always stick up for her.
Well, you always spoil your son. To you, he never does anything wrong.
He doesn't do anything that bad. He goes to school. He keeps his grades up.
See, there you go again. You're always comparing your son and my daughter.
I wish y'all would stop this arguing. I'm trying to study. And why don't you keep your baby quiet?
Who do you think you are telling me what to do?
I mean, I want to be quiet in this house sometime.
This is my daddy's house. You moved in here, remember? Besides, I am sick and tired of everybody always talking about me and my baby. I'll be glad when I can move out on my own.
Well, why don't you go now?
Things don't get better around here. I'm gonna be the first one to go.
Audience, let's welcome our second family to the show. Thank you for joining us. Audience, did anyone notice any negative communication patterns?
The way she walks in and immediately she started ranting about Mary.
I think we all learned from the previous segment that you have to greet a family member when you first enter.
I don't mean to sound cold and uncaring, but I work all day. I was tired and frustrated. I know when I walk through that front door, it's going to be a living hell. The house is a mess, and both my husband and his daughter don't seem to notice or care. I don't feel like greeting anybody.
I agree. It seems fake to force yourself to say hi when you're fuming inside.
Well, certainly if you're angry, you shouldn't try to hide or suppress it. But the point we're missing here is that Elena is trying to get something across to her husband and daughter. Elena's frustrated because she doesn't believe anyone cares about her feelings.
Yeah, well, screaming the moment she walks through the door is not the best way to get a point across.
That's probably true.
Screaming only brings about more screaming. No one listens, tempers fly, and both of you feel misunderstood.
I think it's important to let Miguel know there's a problem they need to talk about.
But without blaming anyone or attacking anyone, just let her come straight out and say she needs to talk about it.
That seems like that might work.
I have a question, though. Obviously, Elena has a problem with Mary. She's the one that's not picking up after herself or cleaning up after her baby. So shouldn't Elena direct that directly to Mary instead of to Miguel?
I've tried, but she won't listen to me.
Is this true, Mary?
She acts like she's my mother and telling me what to do. You're not my mother.
I'm not trying to be your mother, but since you are living in the same house with me, I must ask for respect.
And I ask for respect too, instead of you bugging me all the time.
How about respect for me? I'm trying to study, but you can't keep your baby quiet.
Oh, shut up.
You see, it's like this every day. First, I have to talk to Miguel, then he has to talk to her.
Oh boy, this is getting more and more complicated. Stephanie, do we have any suggestions?
Well, we're dealing with a blended family that's still trying to adjust to living together. Mary, your parents have chosen to live together, so as long as you're living in the house with them, you have to understand that as adults, both of them have some rights and a right to set some rules.
I understand all that, but why is everyone picking on me all the time?
You feel picked on, and Elena feels that no one cooperates with her, right? There needs to be clear lines of responsibility to make sure that the expectations they have of each other are realistic. Cooperation is necessary to build a solid and caring family unit.
I have a daughter Mary's age, and she has a baby. And she feels that because she's a mother, she's also an adult and can take care of her own problems. But the truth is, raising a baby is difficult. But with a little training, a little help, it can become a pleasure instead of a chore.
I don't think Elena really wants to help, and it's just too much for me.
Have you ever asked her? Why don't you ask her?
Will you help me sometimes with the baby?
I'd be glad to if you can help me as well. I feel frustrated when I come home to a mess and a crying baby. I work all day. I need to feel that all of us are sharing in the responsibility of the house. I know you're only 15 and raising a child is difficult for you, but you are the mother and you must have the main responsibility for the child's care.
I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade, but what about Miguel? He could help too. He was watching TV and the house was a mess. Are we expecting the women to do all the cleaning?
Look, I work long hours to support this family, and I feel at least I can come home to a clean house and a nice dinner. I feel I should be able to relax after a long day's work. I don't want to do women's work.
What do you mean, relax? And what is women's work? If you haven't noticed, your wife does work too.
I agree. She has all the responsibility for kid, including yours.
Thank you.
I guess you're right. I hadn't looked at the situation like this before. Truthfully, ever since I've known you, you did all the cleaning. And I just thought that you liked to do it and you didn't want me to do it because I might do something wrong.
That is so typical male. Do you seriously believe that Elena, or anyone for that matter, wouldn't appreciate a little cleaning and straightening up?
I'm not taking sides with Miguel by any means, but Elena is normally the one that does the cleaning. And if there's a problem and she doesn't tell Miguel, how's he supposed to know?
Sometimes we assume that the other person knows or should know when something is wrong, but often that's not the case. It's important to discuss our needs and desires with the whole family.
That's easy to say. How can we actually do that?
In my house, every Sunday night we have a meeting, okay, either just to chat or to bring up issues that have come up during the week.
Doesn't it seem a little weird to make the family wait for Sunday night to talk to each other?
Well, it may seem that way, but actually it's helped us talk to each other. We've made a commitment to put aside the time, and we've kind of learned to talk to each other.
It's a very structured approach.
We have family outings like biking or hiking. That way everyone is more relaxed and we feel free, to communicate, and our talking just comes naturally.
That's wonderful.
Setting a specific time each week to talk to your child or family is a great idea. And it's interesting to note that these meetings actually facilitate communication at other times as well.
It seems like we may need meetings in our family. Could you talk a little bit more about it?
Specific family meetings provide a good forum to bring up issues that have potential conflict. Be sure to establish rules in your meetings so each person's views can be heard.
Should meetings be used just to solve conflicts?
No, not at all. Family meetings can also be used to plan happy events, such as Sunday outings and vacations.
I noticed that Elena compared Miguel's daughter to her own son. I don't think that's good.
You're right. That was wrong of me.
I think we've overlooked someone. Juan, what do you think of all this?
I don't like all the fighting. I guess I haven't realized how hard things must have been for Mary. I guess I can help her with the baby too, but only sometimes.
Good boy.
Thanks, Juan. I promise I'll try to keep the noise down so you can study, all right? But it's not always easy keeping a 2-year-old quiet.
It's clear that a quality relationship can exist in this family, but they need to work together, show respect for each other, and communicate honestly about what's bothering them.
Let's summarize some of the key ideas for this section.
Number 1, encourage all family members to share their thoughts and feelings. Number 2, talk honestly with your children about difficulties you may be having with their behaviors, but avoid unkind words. Number 3, organize a time for family members to get together and discuss family issues.
Would you guys like to show us what you would do differently now?
Oh yeah.
Honey, we have to talk. Things have to change around here. This problem just cannot go on.
What problem? What are you talking about?
Well, first Mary and her baby. We have to find a better way for her to take care of herself, her baby, and her household responsibilities. When I talk to her, she resents it. She sometimes reminds me that I'm not her mother. I know this is a difficult time for her, but we have to make some changes.
Are you saying there's a big problem between you and Mary?
Not just me and Mary. We argue more, but the whole family has a problem.
Well, I knew we were still trying to adjust putting our two families together, but I didn't realize it was so bad. What do you think we should do?
I think we need to have a family meeting where we can discuss what bothers us as well as what we like.
It's about time. I can't study with all this noise.
Yeah, and I'm sick of him complaining about my baby. I need help and no one seems to care.
Well, I'm glad we're bringing these things out in the open. I guess a family meeting would be a great help.
I think so too.
Well, when should we do it?
Let's decide after dinner. How does that sound?
Great idea.
What a difference. Do you guys feel any better?
Well, for one, I didn't lose my temper or get angry when I saw the mess. I just told Miguel that things had to change.
And I didn't snap at her. It was very civilized.
It certainly seemed that way.
And after dinner, we were able to discuss our problems and how to solve them.
We have meetings every week. I get to write down what I hate and what I like.
Very good. I'm glad that it has helped you all. And let's give our family a big hand. Thank you. Now let's put together the many ideas we've learned today.
Number 1, when listening, give your child your undivided attention. Number 2, allow your teen to problem solve. Number 3, state your feelings without attacking the child's character. Number 4, encourage open communication. Number 5, talk openly and candidly. Number 6, organize a time to discuss family issues. An excellent way to implement these new parenting skills with your teens is to keep a daily journal. Make a list of the conflicts in your family and write down how you communicate your needs. Make a list of positive comments you make compared to the negative comments, such as name-calling and labeling. Write down how your children problem solve and resolve their difficulties and concerns. Notice the differences in how they listen to you and write down the results. Write down how you implement family meetings, what issues are brought up, and how they're resolved. You can also write down the rules established for your family meetings so all family members get a chance to state their views and opinions.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you for joining us today. We look forward to working with you in our next episode of Surviving the Teen Years.